I'm Jonathan, and this is Map Learning, a place to learn freely without ads or noise. Let's continue our journey. Today we're going to get into a topic that a lot of people struggle with as far as IT goes: certifications, degrees, and work experience, and why the job market doesn't reward quantity the way people think it does. If you're trying to get into technology, switch careers, or get higher in your technical expertise, this episode is going to give you clarity, honesty, and a real look at how hiring actually works. So when we talk about certifications, degrees, and work experience, the number of certifications you have doesn't matter. The number of jobs you've had doesn't matter. Even degrees, they only matter depending on the job, the focus, and how recent they are. What matters is quality and not quantity. And that's not to say that none of them don't mean anything. I'm just talking about as a general rule. And this isn't one size fits all. Everybody's case is going to be different, but these are some of the experiences that a lot of IT professionals go through as far as careers go. So let me share with you a couple different stories in my own personal experience. So this first experience was I was on a healthcare interview at a hospital in the Central Valley. And at the time, I had already completed 4 associate's degrees and a bachelor's degree, and I was working on my first master's degree. And I already had plenty of years of experience in IT and teaching and so on and so forth. So it came to the day of the interview, and I was interviewing for a systems administrator position at this hospital. And I was being interviewed by the tech manager and his number 1 expert on his team. During the interview, they asked me just about every technical question you could expect from that kind of job, and not only did I answer every question perfectly, I even taught them things that they didn't know. And the hiring manager said to me that this was the best interview that he has had in an extremely long time, and he would definitely let me know as soon as the hiring would go forward. So I went home thinking that it was great. I had other interviews for other jobs that I did at the same time, but I felt really good about this one. And eventually a few months went by, and 6 months went by, and every so often I would contact the HR department, and every single time it was, "We don't call us, we'll call you." And so then I just said, forget about it. I had another job that I had gotten at around this same time, and I wasn't even paying attention to this anymore. And out of the blue, I got an email from that organization saying that the position had been filled. And I'm just thinking, well, great. I interviewed for a position and I didn't hear anything for a year, even though they told me specifically they weren't going to ghost me, and that is exactly what happened. So the thing to take away from this experience is it has nothing to say about my level of skill or my credentials or even my work experience. This was about the organization, their internal politics or budget freezes or fear of hiring somebody that's more knowledgeable than everybody else on your team, or decision paralysis. You don't know what decision to make, so you don't make any decision. Bias, or reasons that we can't define. And the takeaway, you can be the strongest candidate in the room and still lose the job for reasons that have nothing to do with you. A big one is they have to advertise the position legally, but they already know who they're going to choose. And that is very difficult to overcome. Now, that was one experience with job interviews that I had. Here's a different one. I had around the same level of expertise. This may have been the job that I took while I was around the time I interviewed for that one. So I already had my bachelor's. I was working on my first master's. I had countless certifications and plenty of work experience. And I had a series of job interviews with this organization. And every single time I had another job interview, it was with somebody higher up in the chain. So first I had my initial interview with the HR manager. Then I had an interview with the person locally that would be my boss. And then finally I had an interview with the corporate team that was on the east side of the United States that oversaw the entire company. And they drilled me on every possible technical question that they could throw at me. And about the only one that I couldn't answer was about Lotus Notes, because I hadn't worked with that in forever. But I answered everything else perfectly. And I got a job offer. And they wanted me so badly that I had a competing job offer from somebody else, and I said, if you can give me this much money per year, I will take it, no questions asked. And they said, okay, we want you that bad. Come to find out, I was the only person they interviewed. They did not interview anyone else after my interview because they wanted me so badly. Same person, same credentials, same experience, completely different outcome. Hiring isn't linear, it's not predictable, and most of all, it's not fair. The same candidate can be ignored by one employer and pursued aggressively by another. Now, the next section is about quality versus quantity as it pertains to certifications. And in this example, I'm talking about professional IT certifications. There are plenty of vendors out there and certification bodies that offer entry-level, mid-level, professional, expert-level certifications. Someone who has 15 to 20 entry-level certifications does not equal expertise. It could mean that that person just collects certifications to put a bunch of acronyms on their resume. That's been known to happen. On the flip side, you could have somebody with 3 professional or expert level certifications. In this case, I have CISSP and CCSP, both by ISC Squared, and I have CEH. One is for information security management, one is for cloud security, and one is for ethical hacking. Those 3 certifications mean so much more than 15 to 20 entry-level certifications. So when you're looking at certifications, yes, the quantity matters, but it matters what they are in and what the focus is on the breadth of what you understand and the difficulty in getting those certifications. So I'm not going to talk about any specific vendors, but there are certification exams out there that have brain dumps, where someone will go and take the test and memorize as much as they can, and then when they're done, they write it all down and post it on the internet. And those brain dump sites are very popular. But that means that if you have an extremely good memory, you can memorize most of the questions for a certification exam, pass it, and not have any clue what you're talking about. This is what you want to avoid when it comes to collecting entry-level certifications. So as it pertains to earning certifications the correct way, studying, practicing, taking the exam, and passing, the different levels mean certain things. Entry level means I'm learning, I'm getting better at what I do. Professional means I can operate independently. I don't need somebody to tell me what to do or how to do it. And specialized, I can solve real problems. And if you are confused about the level of each certification, they will be advertised as such. So the takeaway from this is be very selective with the certifications that you choose to pursue. A lot of them cost a lot of money, and if you're paying for them yourself, obviously you want to be very selective on what you spend your money on. If you are getting them included in your salary from your employer, then the only thing it's going to cost you to take an exam is time, because you have to have time to study for it. So make sure you're investing the time in a certification that's going to work for you in the long run. Now I'm going to talk about quality versus quantity as it pertains to degrees. Degrees matter based on multiple factors. What you're applying for, the focus of the degree, and how recent that degree is. So when you talk about the job you're applying for, you want to be selective as far as what degrees you're going to pursue based on the jobs that you want to get. So, for example, if you are applying for an IT job that requires moderate level of expertise, and you have an associate's degree in some kind of arts and crafts, nothing against arts and crafts, but it's not IT related. So you have to show something else, whether it's certifications or work experience, that equates to that expertise. Additionally, you can apply for a position that has requirements higher than what you have if you are very strategic about it. So for example, if a job is requiring a master's degree, but you only have a bachelor's degree, however, you have decades of experience, or you have expert level certifications that hardly anybody else does, then you will more than likely get that position, depending on why they are asking for the master's degree. So when it comes to the level of the degree, associate's degree is these days for people that are just out of high school, as a general rule. A bachelor's degree is a little bit higher than that, but it's more specialized in a particular focus area, like network security or network administration or systems administration. When you get to a master's level, there's regular masters where you have IT security or web development, database administration, and those types of master's degrees encompass not only an extreme coverage of that degree field, but also how to manage people in a management environment. Just because a master's degree is maybe specialized in something technical doesn't mean that there won't be management aspects in the degree. And then there's also the MBA, Master's in Business Administration. That is generally an all-encompassing degree that teaches you how to be a corporate level manager, like a C-suite, a CEO or a CIO, things like that. And then a PhD is specifically for research and absolute expertise in a very specific subject. Now, there's also the focus of the degree. So there are cybersecurity degrees. There are general IT degrees, so information systems or information technology. There's all sorts of different types of degrees, and what you want to get your degree in depends on what you want to specialize in. If you get something like information systems, it is going to be more broad. You're going to cover a little bit of everything. If it's more specialized, then you're going to get more knowledge tied towards that specific category. So if you get a bachelor's degree in network administration, you're going to have a lot more classes that have to do with networks. And then how recent. As long as the college and degree is accredited, it stays with you forever. So people that got a master's degree back in the 80s, that degree is still valid. However, the knowledge that was obtained during that degree doesn't stick around. So if your degree is very old, then you want to show employers that you're up to date with new technology, and that's where the certifications come in. Most certifications and all certifications that are ANSI certified require you to recertify every so often, every 2 years, every 3 years, and so forth. And they make you prove that your knowledge is continually updated. So getting a degree is great. It means that you can go into a program and stick with it until you finish. And that shows dedication. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you keep that expertise throughout your entire life. That is how it pertains to IT. The degrees aren't timeless. They age just like technology. So, putting this all together, what are employers looking for? Well, it depends. It depends on if there are a lot of job opportunities out there. It depends on who's hiring. There are multiple factors that you can't control. So that's where interviews are extremely helpful. And in those interviews, even if you don't get through an interview very well, or you end up not getting chosen, use that opportunity to self-evaluate where you might have either given an answer that you weren't happy with, or where you could improve. And interviewing with say an AI model online. That can help you develop skills. Interviewing with other people in a mock interview that know how to interview will help. So all this comes together. There's depth, relevance, progression, judgment, stability, communication, ability to learn, ability to solve real problems. Those are the things that employers look for. Not specifically the number of certifications you have, how extensive your work experience is, and how many degrees you have. It's a combination of them. So, as I said in my previous examples, my personal experiences, I did have over 20 certifications. I had 4 associate's degrees, a bachelor's degree, and working on a master's, 2 decades of work experience, and I had 2 completely different interview outcomes. So to wrap up, don't chase quantity. Don't try to collect certifications. Don't tie your worth to a single interview. Don't assume rejection means you weren't good enough. Build yourself intentionally. Focus on depth, relevance, and growth. Hiring is volatile, but your personal development doesn't have to be. So thanks for being here. If this helped you, share it with someone who's learning too. Everything I make is free, and if you want to support the mission, the links are below. If this episode helped you, share it with somebody who's navigating their career too. It might give them the clarity they've been looking for. And if you ever have questions about your own path, certifications, degrees, experience, interviews, or anything else, you can always reach out. I'm here to help you learn confidently and move forward with purpose. This is Map Learning. Learn freely without ads or noise.